you everyone who's had a part in the service this morning. What a joy it's been. As I thought about Veterans Day, I thought about doing a patriotic message and talk about our country and where we come from and where we went, but I thought I would talk about something even more maybe appropriate, I suppose, on this Veterans Day weekend, and that's talk about integrity. What is integrity, and what does it mean to live a life of integrity? If I had to answer the question, what is the greatest crisis in our world today, I would probably have to say from the State House to the White House to the Church House and everywhere in between, integrity is our biggest problem. Right at the heart of any kind of financial crisis we have, it's an integrity problem. Right at the heart of any political crisis that we have, it's an integrity problem. Right at the heart of any church problems we have is an integrity problem. Whether it's a senator from some state that you barely even know where it's at on the map, to someone else running for this office or that, or an athlete using steroids, or the corporate officer who's cooking the books, or the minister who preaches purity, the pastor who preaches purity yet in his own life practices sexual sin, or the journalist that fabricates a story just so he can get in a famous magazine or newspaper. Integrity is a problem in our world today. You know, there's a lack of integrity that's eroding our society. It is. And that is the reason so many people are cynical of people in authority. People my age, people most of your age, up until, and this is a generalization. This is almost a stereotype, but people from my age and older, we generally have quite a healthy respect for authority. Right? We do. When someone is in authority, you honor your elders. And I'm not saying that people younger than me don't have that respect for authority, but as a general rule, somewhere right about someone born around 1970, if you were born before then, you had instilled in you a healthy respect for authority, and afterwards, not so much. And look where it's gotten us. Now, does someone who practices a lack of integrity deserve our respect? Deserve all those things? Not necessarily, but still, we need to have the integrity to respect those who have been put in authority over us. The Bible talks about it clear. I read one in Sunday school this morning. Even if it's bad, I said that the rulers, it's talking about the rulers that we have are placed in authority over us by God. And we don't always like the rulers. But that's why I prayed for Bill Clinton every day when he was president. That's why I prayed for George H.W. Bush and George Bush when he was president. That's why I prayed for Barack Obama every day when he was president. Why I pray for Donald Trump every day, because he is the ruler God has put over us. But that's easy to say in the United States of America, isn't it? When we elect our officials, or we elect the people that elect the officials and all that, whatever. But what about somebody who's living in Nazi Germany in 1938? And their leader that was over them was a maniacal man who was out to destroy an entire race of people like Adolf Hitler. Would have been so easy then to say he is the one that God has put in authority over us. That's hard questions, and it goes to the integrity and the integrity of God. Because God's got a bigger plan than we can see, right? God's got something even greater than we can ever hope or imagine, Ephesians 3:20 says. And we have to trust God. And that's where integrity comes from. Is when we trust God that He knows better than us, and His ways are higher than our ways. I will tell you this, in a practical matter, you will never live a day of your life when your integrity is not put on the line. There are people who want to see people who claim to have integrity fall. It may be in business. I'll give you an example. And when I moved to Arkansas, we decided to buy a new vehicle, and I had my vehicle for sale. And this guy, who his wife and family came to the church, but he wouldn't darken the doors. He had kind of an auto car lot or whatever, and dealt junk stuff, and he bought and sold cars. So it got down to it, and in Arkansas, if you sold your car, then whatever you sold your car for, that amount would be taken off the sales tax of the new car. Just like if you traded it in, right? If you trade in a car, you only pay sales tax on the difference between the value of your car and the other. Well, in Arkansas, within 90 days, if you buy a new car after selling your old car, you can just show proof from the person you sold it to, and that much money is taken off the sales tax. You don't have quite a bit of money on buying a car. So I'm filling out the paperwork with him. He said, now, and he looked at me, and I could just see the gleam in his, not a gleam in his eye, because he wanted to catch the preacher in some kind of integrity. He said, now, we can put anything we want to on this price that you sold it to me. I said, I want you to put exactly what I sold it to you for down on that piece of paper and sign it. That's what I want. Because he was hoping to kind of catch me and give him an excuse to still not come to church when he wasn't going to come anyway. Your integrity is on the line every single day in business, as a school teacher, as an administrator, as a businessman, and whatever it is, your integrity is on, as a husband and a father and a grandfather, your integrity is on display every single day. And you don't have to look very far in God's Word to figure out that integrity is a big deal to God. Your integrity is a big deal to God. God told a future king of Israel that his political future depended on whether or not he had integrity. In 1 Kings chapter 9, verse 4 and 5, God's Word says this. Now, if you walk before me as your father David walked, talking to Solomon, in integrity of heart and in uprightness, to do according to all that I have commanded you, and if you keep my statutes and my judgments, then I will establish the throne of your kingdom over Israel forever, as I promised David your father, saying, you shall not fail to have a man on the throne of Israel. Listen, God made him a promise that day. Say, if you'll live with integrity, if you'll live doing what I say, and you're the same in the dark as you are in the daylight, you're the same in your private life as you are in your public life, I will give you great things. Well, he didn't always do that. He failed at times. Proverbs 11:3, Solomon learned his lesson well, though he says, the integrity of the upright will guide them, but the perversity of the unfaithful will destroy them. Then in Proverbs 27, chapter 20, verse 7 says, the righteous man walks in his integrity. His children are blessed after him. So what is integrity? What is the definition of integrity? What does it, when we say living our lives with integrity? Well, the word originally comes with a definition of complete or whole. Literally, it means without wax. Anybody curious about that? Why you would describe integrity as without wax? Well, back in those days, when in the language it was written in, there would be people who were sculptors, and they would get this block, and it was very popular. They would sell their sculptures to people who didn't have a lot, and all the way to people who had were very rich people, and they would chisel away. Well, if they're chiseling away and making these sculptures small or large, and they come to the point where that, maybe no fault of their own, but maybe it is because they hit it too hard, a crack would come in those sculptures that they're doing. So they had one of two choices at that point. They could scrap all their time they put into it. They could scrap the rock, or some unscrupulous people would take wax and cover it up, and then finish their sculpture and buff it out. And until it got out in the sun, after they had collected their money for that sculpture, then the wax would melt, and they would realize that they had a faulty sculpture. So literally, integrity, the literal words are without wax. You do things the right way. You treat people, you give people the benefit of their bargain. You treat people the way you'd want to be treated. My modern day condensed definition is in 3 parts. Number 1, integrity is doing what you say you will do. Right? Anybody? Y'all with me now? I'll tell you a whole hour I can preach if you just won't help me now. Do what you say you will do. What you are in the dark is the same as what you are when people are looking. And number 3, always doing what is right, regardless of the cost to you. Those are 3 good definitions, 3 good illustrations of integrity. Let's assume that my definitions are right on the money. Maybe they are, maybe they're not, but just let's take my definitions, those three definitions, just for a moment. Is there anything in our lives, is there anything in your life that's more important than having integrity? We're going to look at a person of integrity, one of my favorite characters in the Bible. Maybe Joseph is probably my favorite, and my second favorite is Daniel, because of the integrity he had and the stand that he took amidst grave danger and great personal consequence in his own life. Daniel understood what it meant to be a man of integrity. By the way, in the book of Daniel, in the book of the Bible, do you realize that nothing negative is ever said about Daniel? Not one negative. Now, you can't say that about Solomon. You can't say that about David. You can say that about Jesus. It's about the only other character that we have in the Bible that absolutely nothing negative was said about him. Daniel was one of those guys. Everybody wanted to be around him. Guys wanted to be like him. Women wanted him to like them. He was handsome, according to the Scripture. He was well built. He was all of those things. But more than just the outward and the inward, he had that moral fiber. He had that integrity to do what was right. And in Daniel, as we look in Daniel chapter 6, verse 1 through 10, we see a story that you probably were told as a bedtime story when you were a child about Daniel in the lion's den. But I want us to investigate this story very quickly and see if we can see what real integrity looks like. The first one is real integrity, men of integrity, women of integrity, practice financial integrity. Daniel 6, 1 and 2, look, if you will. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 satraps to be over the whole kingdom, and over these 3 governors, of whom Daniel was one, that the satraps might give account to them, so that the king would suffer no loss. Make no doubt about it, this was a financial accountability arrangement that Daniel was put in charge of. He was going to have to practice financial integrity so that the king would suffer no financial losses. Darius had come to understand, like just about anybody in leadership, that where some were stealing his administration blind, and he had to do something about it. So he began looking for people to put over his money, and the logical choice was this man who would not burn in the fire, this man who would not take the food of the pagan people of Nebuchadnezzar and Babylon. He would not do it. He needed someone who would look out for his money like it was their money. And Daniel was the perfect choice. Daniel's reputation had preceded him. So why did he choose Daniel? We'll look at verse 3. Then this Daniel distinguished himself above the governors and satraps because of an excellent spirit was in him. And the king gave thought to setting him over the entire or the whole realm. You know, many of the others opposed Daniel. When Daniel was elevated to this position of governor and this position of overseeing the money, there were people who came against him. They began scheming and plotting against him and against his integrity. Why? Because they were probably on the take, right? They probably had their hand out for getting kickbacks and were taking from the king. And so he was going to upset their apple cart. And if you look in your life, if you live with integrity, if you have that integrity in your life, there are going to be people that don't like you. There are going to be people that come against you because they don't live up to it. And you're going to upset what's going on in their life. In your work, if you don't cheat on that expense account, you make somebody that does look very bad. Just living with integrity does have costs. There's no other way around it. It does have consequences, as we'll see in just a few moments. But let me tell you something. There will never be a greater test of your integrity than how you handle other people's money. When somebody puts you in charge of their money, how you handle that is a great test of your integrity. Men and women must practice financial integrity. Secondly, we must practice moral integrity. We must practice moral integrity. You can be the right person and do the right things and still get in trouble, as we see from Daniel. Look at verse 4. So the governors and the satraps sought to find some charge against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find no charge or fault, because he was faithful, nor was there any error or fault found in him. Boy, how would you like for someone to say that about you? That they tried to find something, an error or fault. They tried to find a crack in your integrity, and they found no such thing. Boy, wouldn't that be a great compliment to you in the life you live? Daniel was an extraordinary man, and he understood something. He was the right man for the right job, but there's still these schemers that are out there. That one verse tells you primarily why Daniel rose to power in a pagan land, in a land opposite his value, opposite everything he believed. That tells you, listen, integrity counts. Look at me. Integrity counts, and integrity pays. You believe that? Y'all all right on it? I'm giving you the best I got, and y'all looking at me like a calf looking at a new gate. Integrity counts and integrity pays. If you're a person of integrity, you never have to worry about anybody investigating you. You don't have to worry about anybody coming against you and showing fault in who you are and saying that you're a thief or a liar, or if you live your life with integrity, you don't have to. Bring it on, right? Bring it on. You know, a great book was written by James Kouzes and Barry Posner and surveyed 1,500 managers, people who manage people for a living as part of a study on management. And they asked these managers, what one trait you most admire in a person that you report to? So these are managers who report to people hiring them. What's the number one trait? And everyone, almost entirely, integrity was the number one answer. The most admired thing that people had for those. If you live your life with integrity, God will, like Daniel, raise you up. Look at me. Because you can be trusted. That's why Daniel rose up. He could be trusted. God could trust him. Darius could trust him. Those around him could trust him because he was a man who had moral integrity. You may be in a pagan country where you're at. You may be working for a pagan company. You may be living amongst people who have no integrity. Listen, you will stand out if you'll live your life with integrity. You believe that? Number 3, we must practice spiritual integrity. That's what comes next in Daniel's life. Look at verse 5 through 9 of chapter 6. Then these men said, we shall not find any charge against this Daniel unless we find it against him concerning the law of his God. So these governors and satraps thronged before the king and said thus to him, King Darius, live forever. All the governors of the kingdoms, the administrators and satraps, the counselors and advisors have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree. By the way, that was a lie. All the governors had Daniel? Of course not. He would never do that. But you know how people will come? They'll come and they'll say, everybody's saying this. Well, somebody come, I'm going to give you a warning, by the way. If you come to me and say, everybody's saying this, I'm assuming it's you. Y'all all right? I'm assuming it's you that's got the problem. Just so you know, in talking to me, if you ever tell me that, that's what's going through my mind. That's exactly what was happening here. Continue reading. Have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whoever petitions any god or man for 30 days, except you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. King Darius said, all right. That sounds like a good plan, have people worship me and me alone for 30 days. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing so that it cannot be changed according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which does not alter. Therefore, King Darius signed the written decree. So here we have Daniel now in a spiritual pickle. He has stood up for what he believes in. He stood up for his God in the food ordinances. He stood up for his God with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And now he's an old man who has risen to a point that he is trusted by this pagan King Darius. And they finally got him. These guys have gotten him to sign on the dotted line, which cannot be changed even by King Darius himself. Those guys convinced Darius to be God for a month. And it says a lot about Daniel, that the only thing that they could bring against him, the only thing that they could get try to bring him down with, is that he loved God too much. And he worshiped God too sincerely. Boy, wouldn't that be something to say about your life and my life? That we love the Lord too much. We're too faithful to God. They said, let's make his faith unlawful. Well, now we find out how much integrity Daniel really has. We really do. Let's see if you fling your windows open now and face Jerusalem, Daniel, and pray to your God. Are you going to retreat back into your closet and just say whispered private prayers? God can still hear whispered private prayers. Are you going to open your windows and are you going to make the same show you do? This is according to them, right? The people that brought this law to Darius. Are you just going to wither away? Well, let's see, because death in the lion's den is a bad deal. You're torn limb from limb, and you don't just die quick. Now, we finally got Daniel. There's no way he's going to continue to do this. And if he does, we've got him either way. We've either got his integrity or we've got his life. How committed are you to your God now, Daniel? Well, let's look at verse 10. Now, when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he waited until the writing was signed. People say, don't make a show of your religion, right? Just do it in private. Don't do that. Well, he waited till it was signed. He went home, and in his upper room, with his windows open toward Jerusalem, he knelt down on his knees 3 times that day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as was his custom since early days. He didn't make a show. He did what he had always done. Daniel threw open his windows, knelt down, and I can probably guess what his prayer probably sounded like. It doesn't say it in here, but can I use my redeemed imagination for a moment? Maybe he said something like, Lord, I know this would probably cost me my life, but nothing is worth my integrity. Mark it down. Integrity pays, but integrity costs. It costs in this world that hates integrity, this world that hates someone who makes them look bad, who hates somebody that stands for something. Integrity pays, but there is a cost. There will be a price to pay in your life if you stand up for integrity. Just a quick show of hands. How many of you have ever lost something? Has it ever cost you something for holding on to your integrity? Almost everybody in this room at some point in your life knows, maybe not to the point of having been thrown into a lion's den, but you know what I'm talking about. Integrity costs, but integrity pays. You know, I missed this for a long time. And hearing this story in Sunday school and loving the story about Daniel in the lion's den, I missed this for a long time. You know, the most important part of the story, as we're told as children, is that Daniel survived the lion's den that night, right? The lions got lockjaw or something, and they didn't like the taste of his meat or something. I don't know what it was. But that's not the real miracle. That's not the real point of this story. It's not that Daniel survived. It's that his integrity survived. That's the real point of this story. That's the real miracle of this story. 3 questions that we all need to ask ourselves when I'm finished up. Am I practicing financial integrity? Number 2, am I practicing moral integrity? And number 3, am I practicing spiritual integrity in my life? Do you just talk the talk or do you walk the walk? I'm going to make 3 suggestions over the next 30 days that will change your life. Matter of fact, I'll give you a money-back guarantee. If this doesn't change your life, then you can keep my pay for this week, I guess. I don't know. This will change your life. Number 1, keep your word every time. Keep your word. Let your yes be your yes and your no be your no, and do what you say you're going to do. Number 2, always take the harder right over the easier wrong. If something is right, it doesn't matter how hard it is, it may be easier to take the easy way. Choose the harder right over the easier wrong. Number 3, guard your principles. Guard yourself in this life. And number 4, do the right thing. 4 simple things that in 30 days in your life, if you will do those 4 simple things, I guarantee you, your life will be blessed by God. We look at Daniel. He lived to be an old man. He was an elder statesman, even past the days of Darius. He was a man that everybody looked up to, because on those certain occasions that we have recorded in the book of Daniel, on those certain occasions when his integrity was on the line, he made the hard choices. When his integrity was on the line, he didn't bow to anybody. And praise God, if we could live like that, we could live in the heritage of a man like Daniel. May it be so as we commit going forward to be men and women of integrity. Stand quietly as we pray together. Lord,